Okay, John, I'm sure you've heard this, but we started the recording.
Great. We'll call to the meeting to order. I apologize for not being there in person tonight. First is the flag salute. If somebody else could lead the flag salute. Next is the roll call.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bullenbacher?
Here.
Mr. Chandler?
Here.
No. Oh, that's right, online. Thank you. Ms. Capitello?
Here.
Mr. Marks is not present today. Mr. Oliverio?
Here.
Ms. Pokalnik?
Here.
Mr. Radilla?
Here.
And Mayor Perry is not available today. Solicitor Corbel?
Here.
And Engineer Minsterman?
Here.
And myself. Thank you.
Great. Sorry, we'll go through the consent agenda. Kirsten, can you take that?
Sure. The first item up is the approval of council meeting minutes for April 27th. Do we have a motion to approve the council meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second. Well, I suppose John usually puts these together. We're going to do it twice. And also a motion to approve the bill list for May 11th. We have a motion to approve the bill list.
So moved.
Second. All right, we're doing things a little different when you're not here, John. So we have approved the consent agenda. We're moving on to public comments on agenda items.
We didn't vote or have questions on it.
All in favor?
We've asked questions. You've asked if we have any questions first.
Are there any questions on the consent agenda? All right, so we have a vote. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? All right, the motion passes. Moving on to public comments on the agenda items. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Please state your name and physical address for the record. Do we have anyone wishing to make a public comment on anything on tonight's agenda?
Is there anybody online? Okay.
Okay, well, with no public comments at this time, we will move on to the president's report. And I'll pass that back to John if he's able.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, and then the mayor's report.
She's not able to attend and she did not have anything to report this evening.
Okay, well then it's up to the solicitor's report.
Thank you. Just wanted to announce that council held an executive session prior to the meeting to discuss real estate matters. It's the end of my report.
All right, thank you. And then we're going to the engineer's report. We have our engineer here tonight.
Hello, thank you. Nothing to add to my report, although there are some items that we'll be discussing later in other committee reports.
All right, and then the manager's report.
Great, thank you, Kirsten. I have several things to talk about tonight. The first thing is to have a motion approved for the 2022 volunteer service tax credits for volunteer fire department members. Anybody who is a volunteer fire department member and pays taxes in the borough is able to get a credit. Now I'm blanking on the amount. I think it's $250 credit or some percentage thereof from their taxes. So I will be asking for a motion to approve the 2022 volunteer service tax credits in the amount of $1,846.64 as presented and certified by Jordan Tax Service Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Is there any discussion? Questions? Are we ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, motion passes.
Thank you. And I just also like to make a special thank you to those fire department members who have been working and volunteering their time to keep the community safe. The next item up on their agenda is the Connect resolution. Connect is the Congress of Neighboring Communities. They are an organization that works with the city of Pittsburgh and the 40 or so municipalities that directly surround the city of Pittsburgh on policy issues. We are a member, Crafton is a member as we touch the city of Pittsburgh. And in that resolution, we would like to appoint Mayor Coletta Perry. And we've now added Councilwoman Pamela Kalnick and myself, Jim Price, to be the three delegates to Connect. They ask for 2 council people and 1 appointed official to be members. And so that we would be the delegates to Connect for 2022, 23 or 2023, 24. We would like to have, and then so I can take out that we would have 1 more representative, someone interested, because we've already added that person. So I would like a motion to approve resolution 2023-09, appointing Mayor Coletta Perry, Councilwoman Pamela Pokalnick, and Manager Jim Price to be the 3 of the delegates to Connect for the years 2023/24.
So moved.
Second. All right, we have a motion on the table. Is there any discussion? Anyone online from our online council members? Are we ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, motion passes.
Great, thank you. And now we're addressing the real estate and road tax refunds that were submitted by Jordan Tax Services. These are people who have received refunds for numerous reasons from Jordan Tax for the years 2021, 22, and 23 combined, and that is in the amount of $6,192.74. So I would like a motion to approve a payment of the 2021, 22, and 23 real estate and road tax refunds in the amount of $6,192.74 as presented and submitted by Jordan Tax Service Incorporated.
So moved. Second.
Who was the first and second? Okay.
All right, we have a motion on the table. Is there any discussion? No questions? Okay, we'll go on to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, and then one last motion from me, and this is for the from the seasonal employment list for 2023 summer employment period. We have all of the pool attendants and lifeguards and managers listed on the drive. as well as 3 seasonal public works employees. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the 2023 seasonal employment hire list as recommended by the pool manager and public works foreman.
So moved.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion or questions? I have one, Jim. Can you tell us when that employment, is that open now or when will it open?
They will be starting the week before Labor or Memorial Day weekend. The pool workers will be, and the seasonal public works employees will also be starting on the last week of the month.
Are there any positions still available or have they all been filled?
The pool is filled, but there are seasonal public works employees that we could still hire. Yes,
And those are listed on the website?
those are still listed on the website. Yep.
Okay, any other discussion? We'll move on to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Great. And then I just wanted to provide an update that we have had a pretty significant leak in the Crafton pool. It was fairly difficult to find. They tracked down part of it, and there is still a portion that is leaking. Although we may have to move forward with filling the pool, accepting that the leak is going to be in existence this year. It's smaller than the original one. We were losing 2 to 3 inches a day. Now it's diminished from that is our expectation, but unfortunately, there's no way to be certain until you fill it. And all of the contractors and whatnot to do this type of work are obviously working on everyone else's pools at the same time. So it's a very difficult time to get service quickly. But we are crossing our fingers that we have got most of it fixed. And if not, we will have to fix it after the season. Just wanted to give everyone an update on that. It was not as easy. We found there was actually multiple leaks that we found. So we fixed the ones that we can get to, and we're hoping that they're not too bad. And with that, I'll hand it back to you.
So just a follow-up question. We're not expecting that will impact the pool season this year?
No, we're expecting it to be a minor issue. It'll be a minor, it'll consume more water than we normally do, but you already consume some through evaporation. It's just a matter of having to require more filling than we normally do.
We'll move on to the standing committees report. The first is Finance and Administration. Mayor Perry's not here. Does anyone else have an update for that committee?
No, that committee actually meets next week, so we'll have a thorough update for the next meeting.
All right, well, that moves it on to my committee, the Community Services and Infrastructure. We do have a number of things on the agenda, and we have our engineer here tonight to provide some other additional context if needed. The first item is the Broadhead Sewer Separation Project update. The borough has cost estimates for 3 different scenarios on each portion of the project. Those scenarios are full reconstruction, a value option that looks at lower costs if we reduce some of the items, and then it also looks at full brick reconstruction. There are brick streets impacted in part of that project. So the engineer has been pricing out those 3 different options. In order to provide a more nuanced choice, our engineers are working on developing estimates for a hybrid solution for some of the portions, some of the streets involved in that project. Those 4 options, the full reconstruction, the value option, the full brick, and the hybrid option, will be shared with council and with the public at a council meeting in June, where we will be able to share some of the cost estimates and some images to indicate what those costs are showing. So we'll have a more thorough presentation on that at a council meeting in June.
And I can't update that. The map of the street layouts that we're sitting over by the table there where the agendas are, those are the two maps of the whole project, so you can get an idea of what the whole Broadhead project is and what streets are incorporated in it. You can see it's a fairly large area, and it's originally priced at a $7.5 million project. Some of those options vary one way or the other, but just to give you an idea of what that project is.
Right. We have two sheets here for those who are here in the council meeting, but the full details and the pricing are not included on these sheets. So we'll have a more thorough presentation in June. And the borough does have some funding secured for this project. But we didn't get all the grant funding that we were hoping for last year. So the engineers have been looking into some different options for how we can get as much done with the money that we have received. And we've received a decent amount of, we've received most of the grant funding to cover the cost of the project. Were there any questions on that before we go on? The next item is the transfer of trunk lines. This is to authorize the transfer agreement of the C19 and C20 intermunicipal trunk lines to Alcosan. We do have a handout here tonight as well. For anyone here and for our council members who picked it up, there is a handout that shows where those trunk lines are. This is a process that began more than 15 years ago with Three Rivers Wet Weather, Connect, and Alcosan working together to move these assets and liabilities from individual municipalities to Alcosan, who is better positioned to manage them. And I was going to give a bit of background, but our engineer will provide more background, it says, and I will let him do that.
So Kirsten mentioned the history there. It's been going on for a while. Part of the settlement with the EPA through DEP and the Allegheny County Health Department and the municipalities was that Alcosan pursue regionalizing, at least taking the first step in regionalizing the system, which means they would like to have one entity own all the sewers in Allegheny County and manage and operate all the sewers. So that's one extreme. And the other extreme is what we have, 83 municipalities managing portions of one system that flows to the Alcosan treatment plant. So this is the first step to look at sewers that contain multi-municipal sewage, which means sewage from more than one municipality. So that's the first impetus to say, oh, that would be a municipal sewer because it's not an individual municipal sewer. So it's multi-municipal. So the sewers that they considered taking over were multi-municipal, and they were also 10 inches and greater for separate sanitary systems and 12 inches and greater for combined systems, which is what Crafton has. So on the map, it shows what is eligible and what has been requested by Alcosan. If you look in the C20 area, you see that sort of purple magenta colored line. And then in the C19 area, you see a much shorter area of sewage line, even though that line does extend up into Ingram. Ingram owns that, and that portion is being regionalized as well. So another issue that was required as part of the transfer in order for them to accept and take these sewers was that they be in good repair. So Alcosan came out and televised these lines and identified repairs that need to be made. All but one of those repairs have been made. The one is particularly challenging. It's down at the the main 5-point intersection on Steuben, where all the work is occurring right now. There's a myriad of utilities there. So to find the manhole that they're looking for, which would require excavation, would be touchy at best. So there is an option to take care of that. So I won't get into those details. But the point is that the specific elements of what Alcosan's requesting from Crafton to take these sewer lines have been met. So now it's under the review of the agreement. The agreement is lengthy, and I think it's complex. Maybe others don't. But so that's the next step, is to review that and decide if council thinks that's best for them. One note is that the major advantage to doing this is that Alcosan would then be relieved of any maintenance and operation of these sewer lines, which is televising, point repairs, manhole repairs, mapping.
You mean the borough would
You mean
be,
that
you said
Alcoasand
Alcoasand.
would take on that responsibility?
Yes.
The borough would be
Yeah.
The
relieved.
borough would be relieved, and Alcoasand would take on that liability and that cost. So Alcoasand will take the expense associated with these sewers, but not any revenue. So the revenue would be sanitary sewer customers that tap into these lines. So you keep the revenue, you lose the expense. So that's ultimately the best scenario, as long as all the agreement elements are acceptable.
And just to add on to that, we are talking about transferring the maintenance and management of those. We are not in any way losing any access to them. It's not in any way going to change the service that residents receive. And the C19 area is along the northern end of Crafton along Ingram, and the C20 area is along Steuben.
Just to clarify on that, there should not be a drop in service. However, you won't have control of that because they'll be owned and serviced by another entity, which is Alcoasand. But I think the point you're making is it's not going to be constricted. They're not going to disallow flow from Crafton. So there would be no impact to the capacity and operation of the system itself. But indeed, they would then be responding to any problems, backups or anything like that, which once again relieves you of those costs.
All right, well, with that, I'll go ahead and put a motion to approve resolution 2023-10, authorizing the execution of the transfer agreement related to the C19 trunk line.
Second. So moved.
Second. Okay, is there any discussion?
Just out of curiosity, how does this benefit Alcoasand? I mean, I know it probably doesn't matter, but I'm curious why they're doing this.
They're being forced by EPA
Okay.
under their agreement.
There we go.
So their consent decree requires that they begin to implement regionalization. So this was the least they could do and still have EPA agree. So that's why.
And it's important to point out, I think you might have touched upon it, but these are all lines that have carry flow from multiple municipalities. So we're not taking any line, they're not taking any lines that just come from Crafton. They're only lines that have flow from Pittsburgh and Ingram and other municipalities, Green Tree. So.
Any other discussion or questions?
I just wanted to mention that this doesn't obligate you to proceed with the transfer of the sewers. It just states your intent. So it's not a permanent, by doing this, you're automatically accepting those. Just a little clarification.
All right, well, shall we proceed to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. And then we proceed to another motion to approve resolution 2023-11, authorizing the execution of the transfer agreement related to the C20 trunk line.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this one? Shall we proceed to a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. On to the 2023 road paving update and next steps. Our 2023 paving program, we have had this on the agenda in the past few months, giving updates as we've been proceeding towards identifying the roads to be paved within the next year. We are in several years into a 5-year paving program, and the engineers have each year been reassessing to see which roads are next up for repairs based on their condition, as well as matching them to the amount of funds we have available. We had approved the preliminary list of roads roughly a month ago and proceeded to open up bids. So at this point, we have 5 bids were opened on April 27th, 2023 for the 2023 road paving program. The low bidder was El Grande Industries with a base bid of $289,356.25. And add alternate Fountain Street in the amount of $114,760. The base bid was estimated at $306,000, and the add alternate was estimated at $124,000. The borough has budgeted $320,000 for this 2023 road program.
And I just want to clarify, and I don't know that I wrote that as well as it could have been written, but we are suggesting that we have a motion to approve the base bid, but not the ad alternate. So, and that is what the recommendation by Gateway that is linked there. I noticed that it wasn't written out clearly, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. So we're only suggesting that we go for the $289,000 and not the additional, because that was so far beyond what we budgeted for the year. And we do have interest in doing the reclamite and other. Okay.
But the base bid that we have from this top bidder came in a little bit lower than what the engineer had estimated it might be. So it's a reasonable bid. So with that, I'd like to propose a motion to award the 2023 paving program base bid to El Grande Industries in the amount of $289,356.25 per the recommendation of Gateway Engineers.
So moved.
Second. Is there any discussion or questions? And our council members online? Shall we proceed to vote? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. The remaining items for me are all updates. There are a number of updates. The Union Avenue reconstruction is underway. The contractor, TA Robinson, has started on the base removal and construction for the first portion of Union Avenue. Paving for the first section will be completed at the end of this week or early next. The second phase will begin immediately after.
Sorry to cut you. Yeah. This has been moving very quickly. We didn't anticipate they would actually be done paving tomorrow, but it looks like they will actually be done paving by tomorrow. And
Okay.
then the new section will start on Monday.
Okay, so a little ahead of schedule, and the second phase will begin next Monday. There's been a lot of disruption, but it seems that residents are taking that mostly fairly well. I know there's a lot of disruption with the parking, and there have been some requests just to make sure that people are being careful about how they park when parking is very limited on that street during this time of construction. Are there any comments or additions? I know we have a council member who lives in the construction zone. Any additions to add?
Glad to move on to the next phase. And just for clarification, how will the residents be notified, myself included, that we need to, remove vehicles from the other side and switch when this is complete? Will it just be via email, or will there be an additional way that we'll be notified?
We were planning on emailing, but now that you've spoken that out loud, we should probably walk around with letters tomorrow afternoon when we've confirmed that they will be done tomorrow, just so that people know that it's switching. We'll hand out letters to the folks on the street tomorrow.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, no parking signs as well. Yeah.
That was a good addition. The Crafton Boulevard Streetscape Phase 2 lights are on order. There were 2 mistaken deliveries of wrong lights, so we're awaiting the third and final delivery to install some of the additional streetscape lights. And somewhat unrelated, but building on that project, I have gotten some really good feedback from various people lately that they really enjoy the new streetscape. So, we're always eager to hear from residents on things that are going well and not going well. The next item is the multi-municipal zoning project update. Back in April, on April 19th, there was a community event. So we will be putting some of those photos on the website. We appreciate everyone who came out to participate in that community event. We have a consultant that's been working throughout this year to update our zoning code, a collaborative project between Crafton and Ingram boroughs. That consultant, ZoneCo, will be creating a website that we'll be linking on our website. So more information once that's live. They'll be creating a website to provide a place for feedback and provide ways for residents to give additional public engagement and additional feedback on the zoning as it progresses. And alongside that, we're looking for new avenues to communicate public engagement opportunities. So also happy to hear from residents if there are ideas or suggestions. And then the final update for my committee is the pool house update. We heard a little bit about the repairs earlier, but we also have an ongoing project to actually redo the pool house and make some substantial improvements. That pool house project is in its final design stage. We're planning to present that final design to council in June. So we'll have more details at one of the June sessions. The original cost estimate came in higher than we had budgeted. It was approximately $780,000 after inflation was considered, which was more than we had budgeted. So it was decided to remove replacing the roof as part of the project since the borough had received a grant offset of $250,000, excuse me. That brought the cost down to approximately $580,000, which was more in line with what we had budgeted. And the roof has been in fairly good condition. And so that was the reason for that change. We thought that could be removed from the project and updated at a later time. That was per the recommendations of the engineers and discussion with council at a previous council meeting. In the past few weeks, there was some concern that the roof would still need to be replaced. And so we were reassessing that. And just in the last few days, that inspection was done. And based on an initial inspection, it looks that the roof is still in decent shape, in good shape, and does not need to be replaced. But that will still be considered, I suppose, as they go into the final design stage that is due in June. Are there any questions on that? Otherwise, I guess I would just add the pool house update. The pool house project is still on schedule. We're planning to have a pool season as normal, to be going through a bid process throughout summer, and then starting repairs in the fall after the pool season closes. Any other questions? I will pass it over to Ms. Bullenbacher.
All right, for communication CRCE. The spring cleaning event, my understanding, went very well despite a very rainy day. Little bumps, losing things, but apparently it went well. There was there was a lot of people who showed up for it, so it was pretty successful. Same with the senior derby dinner, that went well. There were 38 reservations in total, 29 in attendance. So there were 9 no-shows, which isn't bad, but apparently there was a lot of people dressed up and wearing big hats. So it was very successful. We are still accepting applications for vendors and food trucks for the June 10th car show and vendor fair, as well as for the 4th of July. Our next newsletter, we're slating to send out on August 1st. So we're going to ask that all articles be given to us by July 1st. And that's the only other thing really is a digital sign, which Jim was going to give an update on that.
Yeah, just the update. So this is the digital sign that was donated by the Rotary Club. It's on order. It's being constructed right now. We are hoping that it'll be placed sometime in June.
And that's it.
All right, thank you. Moving on to commission's vacancy, Mr. Chandler.
If it's okay with Ms. Bukownik, I'm going to pass this to her. If not, just let me know. Are you all right with that, Pam?
Be funny if I did say no, but sure, I'll give it a shot.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So currently we have a handful of positions still available. I'll read through those. We are doing a good job of filling those. So this list seems to be getting smaller and smaller, which is great. But currently we are looking to fill for the Civil Service Commission. There are 2 alternative postings. Recreation Board currently has 1 opening. Zone Hearing Board has 1 opening and 1 alternate. The Planning Commission has 1 opening, and eventually coming up towards the later part at the end of this year, there will be 3 spots rather on the Recreation Board. So if anyone is interested in applying to any one of these open positions, you can do so at our website, craftonborough.com/commissions. All the information is there on each particular type of commission that you can apply for. So please feel free, encourage friends, family to look into it. It's pretty rewarding being involved in those positions.
And just one thing to add to that, I did receive an email, I believe, early this morning or late last night for a somebody who is interested in the Planning Commission. So I'll be setting up an interview for that, and hopefully being able to fill that spot within the next week or 2.
Yeah, great, thank you. Lots of ways to get involved in the borough. Move it over next to the Council of Governments update from Ms. Bullenbacher.
The next COG meeting is next Thursday, May 18th at 6:30. It's being hosted by Coriopolis, but it's being held at Carmody's Restaurant on Neville Island. If anybody would like to join me
What did you say that was again? I'm sorry.
next Thursday.
Are you planning to attend? Are you able to go?
I'll be there too.
Okay, well, we will move on to community announcements. Our next council meeting will be Thursday, May 25th, 2023 at 7:15, the usual time. The Crafton pool season. Sales for the pool season passes will open on Monday, May 1st, will have opened as of Monday, May 1st. And the pool will open. Okay, the pool opens on Saturday, May 27th. Please visit craftonborough.com/crafton-pool if you'd like to get your pool passes, and I'll pass it over to Jim for more context.
Sorry. We just wanted to note, we were asked, when does pool season passes stop? When do we stop selling them? And traditionally, we have not stopped selling them, and we do not plan to do that this year either, until the pool closes. So people have come in August even and paid for pool passes. When you get an individual pass, even if you only go a few times, it essentially pays for itself. So we plan on doing that again this year, but we're going to assess how that goes.
All right, thank you. Election day, the primary elections are coming up. The primary elections will be on Tuesday, May 16th. So that's next week from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Please make sure to confirm your polling location. For Crafton specifically, voters will be voting for 3 open council seats. I suppose for those of us who are parents, probably everyone received a note, but the school will be closed that day. It was a rather last minute decision they made. And then the final item is the car cruise and vendor fair is scheduled for Saturday, June 10th from 8 o'clock a.m. to 6 p.m. at Crafton Park.
11 a.m.
11 a.m. I'm sorry, I can't read tonight. Saturday, June 10th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Crafton Park. Right, are there any other community announcements before we go to public comment? All right, we will go to public comment then. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Please state your name and physical address for the record. Do we have any public comments? Is there anyone online who would like to make any public comment? right, well, I think that concludes our council meeting for this evening. We will go ahead and adjourn. It is 7:54.